Can I get a comms check? Where you at, Nostradamus? Good morning, everybody. I'm Bear from the internet. You know this. That's why you're here. Thank you, Nostradamus. I love the fact I've never met Nostradamus in my life. We don't know each other. We don't hang out, but we have this special relationship where I know I'm going to sign in. I'm going to do this show, and I'm going to get a 5 out of 5 from Nostradamus, like right there in the chat that quick. And if I don't, I know something's jacked up. And so, like,
it's like a hotkey.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right. It's copy paste ready to go. And I love that, right? I love that commitment to the Bear Nation. Good work, everybody. Good morning, everybody in the chat. 5x9 plus. 5x9s are gauze pads, Andy Barnes. All right. We're going to do the brief today. If you're new here and you like this particular type of intelligence shenaniganry, click the little subscribe icon, ring the bell. Throw us a thumbs up. That helps us in the ongoing battle against the YouTube algorithmic robots. If you're not new here, you know what to do. Share the show with somebody you love. That helps us get around the algorithm. Organic shares. There's nothing that the algorithm can do about that, right? It's organic. So that helps us grow the show. And the idea behind the show is not to have as many followers as possible. It's to produce as many leaders as possible. Okay? Okay, Bear. All right, good talk, everybody. The show is, of course, brought to you by refugemedical.com. We're going to talk more about that at the end of the brief. Today, we're going to talk about China's proposed plan for peace. And you go, what are you laughing about? You don't like China proposed plan? Many spiral room for make good peace for you. The peace is so good. You love this piece. It's so good. No bomb. Good peace. China proposed peace plan. Ukraine intel, and then some anecdotal intel from out of Chicago and Portland. And praise the Most High, I don't live anywhere near Chicago or Portland. So, to the brief we go. By the way, is today the Ides of March? Is that what that means? The 1st of March is the Ides of March? Oh, the 6th of March is the Ides of March? The 15th is the Ides of March. Okay, you have 2 weeks to prepare for the Ides of March. I don't know what happens on the Ides of March, but I do know that we were all indoctrinated in high school English that we are to beware the Ides of March. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. China has proposed a Russia-Ukraine peace plan. Unfortunately, it appears to be further confirmation of China's position in the conflict that is impacting large swaths of people around the world. The plan was largely in Russia's favor with little benefit for Ukraine. Moreover, recent reports have made clear that the Biden administration is concerned that China is considering going beyond diplomatic, political, and economic support for Russia to procure lethal aid. Yes, China is not just going to provide materiel and be talking heads and be friends with Russia, but now they're going to give them munitions. And the United States isn't too crazy about that. Paraphrasing what China said, they're like, dude, shut up. Who the hell are you to complain about people providing weapons of war to Ukraine? It's a fair point, honestly. Biden has made clear somehow in his degrading state of senility, Biden has made clear that America, quote, would respond, end quote, bringing economic consequences for China should the country offer military aid to Russia. My question is he going to respond to China in the same way that he responded to Russia with Nord Stream 1 and 2? And by the way, we're completely off script right now. I know some of y'all love that. Some of y'all hate it. But it is what it is. I'm loving the fact that all these air quote conspiracy theories are just totally coming true. Right? That like, it turns out that that the Charlie Victor 19er is probably almost definitely from a lab leak, according to the Department of Energy. Yeah, we knew that like 2 years ago, but thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Right? Okay. Thanks for the confirmation. It turns out, yes, the United States did blow up Nord Stream 1 and 2. We were talking about that months ago when that happened. Yeah, most likely to do that in the United States of America. So I'm kind of digging. Mad Kelt said the tinfoil are 43 and 0, right? Exactly. So, it's interesting to see like how right the air quote conspiracy theories have been about a lot of this stuff that's happening. And it illustrates the fact that we live in an unprecedented age when it comes to communications, both good commo and bad commo. There's a lot of signals noise for sure. But the very thing that some people have surmised would be the tool that they would use to oppress the people globally, this commo network that we're on right now. You know, the signals beaming to and from space right now, if you believe in space. You know, the earth is shaped like a pizza. Okay, whatever you're into, bro. Regardless, these commo signals bouncing around that could be used to subjugate and indoctrinate people can also be used for discovery and education and, excuse me, collaboration. And so I'm digging that. I like that. Donut Earth, or Donut Earth, whatever you're into. I personally think it's shaped like a croissant. So Biden has made clear that America would respond. Similarly, Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, has promised, quote, real costs should lethal aid be offered. Okay, we'll see what that entails. When asked if the U.S. will continue supporting the Ukraine war at its current rate, he said, quote, I can level with the American people in saying that war is unpredictable. I think he meant to say profitable. War is unpredictable. I cannot predict the future, and nor can anyone else. And anyone who is suggesting they can define for you how and when this war will end is not leveling with the American people or anyone else, end quote. A plus Diplo speak right there. A plus. That is an answer that contained zero answers. Well done. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson, Mao Ning, said, quote, the U.S. has been pouring weapons into one side of the conflict, thus prolonging the fight and making peace elusive, while spreading disinformation that China would supply weapons to Russia and sanctioning Chinese companies under that pretext, end quote. She told reporters, quote, this is outright bullying and double standards, end quote. So China's claiming that the United States saying that China is going to supply weapons of war to Ukraine is misinformation. I would submit, I'd say within 90 days, we'll probably see China supplying weapons of war to Ukraine. Just like, oh, totally not spy balloon is weather balloon for make for best rainbow in sky. Yeah, sure. I believe the Chinese Communist Party just as much as I believe our own American Communist parties. Not impressed at all with their outward messaging. So China says, yeah, that's disinformation. As if China has a leg to stand on when it comes to disinformation. Like the swine fever, African swine fever in the swine populations in China, they have 0.0% swine fever in their country. But if you look at the borders all around China, everybody else is overcome with it. I believe you. Or that they have a super duper healthy economy. I believe you. Or that the CCP has a stranglehold on the hearts and minds of the people. But no, there's no rebellion and civil unrest to see here. I totally believe you. Oh, those are just fishing ships in the South China Sea. They're not military ships. I believe you. Totally. Makes it super duper tracks. China has a great track record of telling the truth. Relations with China are not great, especially since the spy balloon debacle. But recent war-related rhetoric is certainly not helping matters. It goes without saying that more involvement from China would worsen the situation and have global consequences. Even just sanctions against China will impact everyday American citizens in this made in China era. So that's something for y'all to be aware of. Very likely sanctions to come from the United States of America against China. And there's arguments to be made for and against sanctions. Peter Zion is one who believes that sanctions against China would be crippling because they're net importers of all the things that are important for human life in that country. Other people believe that sanctions are less effective against populations because it emboldens the population to find workarounds to problem solve. If I can't get fuel from these people, now I have to get fuel from these people. Okay, so they just pivot. I can't get fertilizer or food or raw inputs for our economy from these people. I'm going to get it from these people. So my guess, my best guess, my analysis here is that if the United States sanctions China, not only is that going to further hurt diplomacy with China, which we don't really have at this point anyway, and war is just diplomacy by another means, right? And so it'll hurt our diplomatic efforts with China, but it will also strengthen BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, and 27 other countries at this point. So it's going to continue to contribute to the dipolar world. It is bipolar as well, but the dipolar world that's developing now between the West and the East, if you will. For us, we still live in an age where a lot of what we consume every day is produced in China. And so I would encourage you strongly to continue to look for nearshored or American-made companies that you can do business with, because at some point, the things that are made overseas, we may not be able to get a hold of. I have a brother that runs a wood shop that I used to work at, and he makes phenomenal woodworking products. And Baltic birch is one of the best cabinet grade plywoods that you can build, anything out of. It's phenomenal. It also comes from the Baltics, predominantly Russia. Can't get Baltic birch anymore, right? And China birch, which is another product, is trash. And even then, if you can't get that anymore, what do you do? And so if you're an American company, and you're dependent upon inputs from overseas, now is the time to start looking for what products could you substitute out for these things that are manufactured over there in Russia, China, etc. Perhaps even India, Brazil, South Africa, because those nations are blocking up and stepping away from the world stage. They're going over here and doing their own thing. Alex Miller says, good morning, y'all. I just got in. I'll catch up. Semiconductors, anyone? That's a good observation, Tim Backer. That's a great observation. So understand that if we sanction China, there will very likely be economic recourse here in the United States of America, predominantly having to do with the availability of goods and raw inputs. My 2 cents. Good morning, Joshua. From a Bear National, now shifting gears, let's go over to Ukraine. Everybody downshift. We're going to take a hard left. We're going to go west from China, and we're going to scoot right across Russia. We're going to try not to get shot, stabbed, blown up as we just haul ass through Russia. And then we're going to end up in Ukraine, okay? And we're going to hit the brakes, downshift, hit the brakes, put it in neutral, pop the air brakes. We're in Ukraine now. Everybody tracking? Cool. From a Bear National, quote, I'm a subscriber from Italy. My country has a thriving Ukrainian community, and one of my wife's coworkers is a Ukrainian lady who recently came back from visiting family in her hometown near Lviv in western Ukraine. She told us that the Ukrainian army is running out of able-bodied men to throw into the battlefield, and that authorities are desperate to recruit new military personnel. Ukrainian military police units are scouring every city and town of the country, stopping people in the streets and entering houses without a warrant. Now, I want to be clear with this. I have not independently verified this. This is from a single source, member of the Bear Nation, and I'm not degrading their contribution to this morning's brief at all. I'm simply saying that I have been unable to independently verify this as of this time. So this is a single source. Ideally, when we're doing intelligence analysis, we have multiple sources. And a lot of times that's going to be disaggregated intelligence, and then we can take that, map it out, and then look for overlaps and connecting data points, and then get a better picture of what it is that we're dealing with. This is not that. It's from a single source. So take it with a grain of salt, even though I believe in the spirit of truth with which this was submitted to us, okay? Ukrainian military police units are scouring every city and town of the country, stopping people in the streets and entering houses without a warrant. Every military-aged male they meet is interrogated about his justifications for not being in military service. Those who provide unconvincing excuses get loaded into a military police truck and sent to the nearest recruitment center without even being allowed to stop at home to warn their families or pick things up. So far, my wife's co-worker's son-in-law, aged 45, and grandson, 20, have been conscripted, and they've been told to prepare themselves to reach the front lines in the following days. Apparently, the situation in Ukraine is more dire than what Western media wants us to believe. Thanks for shalom. Shalom to you, sister. Shalom, by the way, means peace in Hebrew. It's like, what's up? We use it a lot like the Hawaiians do, like aloha, hello, goodbye, what's up, good to see you, etc. And no, I'm not a Jew, for everybody who's curious. I'm not a Jew. I'm so Christian, the Christians don't like me. All right. Now, a couple of other things, and good morning to everybody in the chat. 1,200 people. I appreciate y'all very much so. Thank you for being here. Also, thank you for bearing with me on the good days and the bad days and the up days and the down days. And I'll tell y'all, you're always going to get me. I don't edit videos. I don't self-edit myself. 90% of success in life is showing up, and the other 10% is doing stuff. And I always try and show up, even if it's a bad day, even if I technically shouldn't show up, even if it would be better if I just kept my mouth shut that day. I have yet to develop enough self-control to be able to do that and not show up.
That's usually when I say.
That's usually when Katie Lynn yells at me.
I go, no, we should not.
Who, by the way, a lot of people are like, is that your wife? No, that's not my wife. That is my badass administrator, Katie Lynn. And she coughs all the time. She doesn't have COVID. She's not sick. It's had to do with the fact that she's birthed 6 beautiful children, and she's fine. She's fine. Me, on the other hand, not so much. I'm a biohazard right now. There's like green shit in my lungs, but I'll make it. So, all that to say, I appreciate y'all for sticking with this channel on the good days and the bad days. And what we have here is much more than transactional, as I've said before. This is relational. We have a relationship, and my job, as I see it, is not to build followers out of y'all. I don't want you to follow me. Don't follow me. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'm nobody special. I want you to learn leadership lessons here so that you can lead in your home, in your community where you're at, so that you can be a better person, a stronger person where you're at, so that your light can go out and shine out into the world, and you can do badass shit, and you can make a difference, and you can put a smile on the Father's face. That's what this channel is about here. And we use preparedness as a mechanism to be able to provide those deliverables to you. If you haven't figured that out yet, open your eyes and ears, because to the best of our ability, everything we do here circles back to the Father. Everything. Because I'd be dead without him. You'd be dead without him. Some of us know that we belong to him, and some of us don't know that we belong to him. But whether you know and acknowledge or not, you are property of the Most High. And if I can help you be better as a son or daughter of the Most High, that's my goal. And sometimes I'm going to show up and I'm going to be a whiny little bitch. I'm going to be a little bit pissy. And in the big scheme of things, that's okay, because you will always get raw, unedited, real Bear. I am incapable of self-censorship, if you haven't figured it out yet. I'm not good at that. I can't do it. And that there's certain jobs that means I'm not qualified for. So just a little thank you for sticking with me through Monday's brief. A couple of things I want to look at. One is from RT, which everybody say it with me. Russian propaganda. Yes, that's correct. The Pentagon, our Pentagon, is well aware of Ukraine's corruption problem. Headline, Washington will continue to stress accountability with Kiev on arms supplies, a senior defense official has said. You can stress it all you want. We all know that you're washing funds, taxpayer funds, through Ukraine, and that they're ending up back in the United States of America. With everybody that has more than 4 brain cells cobbled together is super duper aware that this is in large part what's happening in Ukraine. So you can stress accountability all you want. Accountability for what? $28,000 hammers, $32,000 toilet seats. Like, I can, in today's day and age, go to Home Depot and get a toilet seat for $15. You can account for all the $32,000 toilet seats you want. We still know that they don't cost $32,000. Okay. Have a good day, Bear. Love, Nana. Love you back, Nana. Kim, you're awesome. Kim's like, she's a light every day. Every day. It just brings good stuff every day. Back to the RT article. It is true that corruption has long been a problem in Ukraine, and the Pentagon is pressuring Kiev to address it, a senior U.S. official told the American lawmakers. The unprecedented scale of aid to Ukraine has made possible graft a hot-button topic in Washington. Quote, I've worked the Ukraine issue now for about 9 years. Okay. I just want to drill down on that just for one moment, because Russia invaded Ukraine February 24th, 2022. That's like a year and a week ago. So back to this quote. I've worked the Ukraine issue now for about 9 years. What happened about 9 years ago? Does anybody know? Was there a American-backed political coup in the United States, or I'm sorry, in Ukraine? Did that happen? Yeah, that happened. Did Russia annex Crimea 8, 9 years ago? Yeah, for sure. Did we install a puppet leader in Ukraine? We sure did. Is he a professional actor? Yep, for sure. Have there been people who don't have names doing things that never happened in places that don't exist, funded by taxpayer dollars over there in Ukraine for the last decade? Yeah. Do we talk about that? No, we don't talk about that. That never happened. We didn't do that. I've worked the Ukraine issue now for about 9 years. And in our engagement over that entire period, corruption was the number one issue we've raised with Ukrainian officials. Under Secretary of Defense, the Defense Department has been working the Ukraine issue for 9 years, said Colin Cowell during a hearing about Ukraine assistance held by the House Armed Services Committee on Tuesday. Quote, we don't see any evidence of diversion of weapons in our reporting. We think the Ukrainians are using properly what they've been given. He added that U.S. officials would continue to foot stomp the importance of accountability and transparency. They're using the weapons you're giving them, but what about the funds, homie? He made remarks in response to Joe Courtney, a Democrat from Connecticut, who praised Ukraine for improving the position in Transparency International's 2022 ranking of perceived corruption. Ooh, I'm going to have to look that up. Let's see. Copy. Control C. New tab. Control V. So Iran ranks 147th out of 180. That's fun. We'll maybe touch on that in a separate brief, because I'm like completely off the cuff at this point. The number one country is Denmark. Let's see, where's the United States? Scores out of 100. Denmark has a 90. Canada has a 74. United Kingdom has a 73. UK's ranked 18th. The United States has a 69, ranked 24th in the world for transparency. Israel is 31st. We're in descending order now. Cuba and the United States have similar rankings. We'll just throw that out there. Belarus has a 39, ranked 91st. Belarus and Colombia. And then it just turns into a global shit show from there. All basically what you would consider developing nations. Interesting. I'm going to grab this link, drop it into the chat for y'all so you guys can see it on your own. If you want to go take a look at that, there it is in the chat. So, continuing with this drivel from RT, blah, blah, blah. He asked Call to comment on the seriousness with which the Ukrainian government has approached this whole question of making sure that this help goes to the right place. Some members of the Republican Party have expressed the view that President Joe Biden's administration has written a blank check to Ukraine by pouring tens of billions of U.S. taxpayers' money into supporting its military and funding its government. Republican committee member Matt Gaetz questioned how paying pensions to Ukrainians helped American citizens and raised concerns about possible graft. Good morning, Monica. A lot of zeal for enforcement of the anti-corruption efforts seemed to align with the Republican control of the House of Representatives in our country, he mused, citing several recent corruption scandals in Ukraine and the resignations of some senior officials. blah, 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 blah. The U.S. has allocated more than 100 billion. Yeah, it's 196 billion. That should be phrased closer to 200 billion in Ukraine-related spending since the start of hostilities with Russia a year ago. Now, the key takeaway from this article, like I said, and I'll hit it again, I've worked with the Ukraine issue now for about 9 years. And in our engagement over that entire period, corruption was the number one issue we've raised with Ukrainian officials, said Undersecretary of Defense Colin Kahl. Okay, that's good. So the Secretary of Defense has been aware of what's been happening in Ukraine and has been tracking corruption in Ukraine for 9 years. Great question, No Pulse. What about the Taliban weapons? Great question. They're on the black market now. Also, by the way, if you have no pulse, that means you're clinically dead. You should probably do something about that pretty quick. You got a couple minutes to fix that before you're dead, but we'll talk about that later. Blast metal, shoot steel, and do the prepper things. That's a great mantra. You should make a t-shirt out of that, Pickle Weasel. That's a great mantra. Next, briefly, from Fox News. Lori Lightfoot's critics sound off on Chicago mayor losing re-election. Quote, crime doesn't pay. And this article from Fox is basically, it's barely reporting. I'll just say it as that. But the bug-eyed monster Lori Lightfoot has been extinguished in Chicago. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a Democrat, lost her re-election bid Monday night, and critics are celebrating the end of her term. She's been blasted for her poor relationship with law enforcement as the city's police department lost a significant number of officers in recent years amid the rise in crime. It wasn't just the rise in crime that lost police officers. It was bad politics and forcing people to do things that they didn't want to do. Let's see. There were 9 candidates for mayor. She didn't even make it into the runoffs. She finished the election in 3rd place. That's great. That's great. And let's see. It goes on from there. Article is basically bullcrap. Outkick founder and radio host Clay Travis emphasized in a tweet that, quote, Lightfoot was crushed in tonight's Chicago mayoral race and didn't even make the runoff. 84% of Chicagoans voted against her. 84%. That level of incompetence is tough to pull off for an incumbent. Congrats to her. So, arrivederci, Lori Lightfoot. Best of luck in your afterlife. And then also from Fox. Crime turned Portland into a hollowed-out shell. Its neighbors are trying to keep it from happening to them. Quote, Portland is a hollowed-out shell of what it used to be, said West, a Clackamas County commissioner. Businesses are fleeing and people are leaving for greener pastures. Public safety officials across Oregon have complained of the rise of crime in their communities, but according to police data, crime is spiking much more dramatically in Portland than the statewide average. I wonder why. Does anybody know why Portland would be experiencing a rise in crime, but not the rest of the state? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. They're so inclusive. They're so liberal. They're just trying to, if you want to shit in a litter box, you can shit in a litter box in Portland. If you want to shoot heroin on the streets, you can do that. If you want to set up an insurrection and destroy people's personal property, you can do that. It's fine. I mean, we have to be careful not to equate causation to correlation, right? From a data analysis standpoint. So I can't come up with any good reasons why Portland would be experiencing this dramatic rise in crime that doesn't track with all the other counties around it. They're just good, fun-loving, freedom-loving Americans over there up in Portland. Let's see. The increases we're seeing are nothing like the increases that we're seeing in our neighbors. Public safety is failing in Multnomah County, end quote. One man, Portland, allegedly struck a woman in the head with a rock moments after leaving a mental health facility. A domestic violence suspect was charged with murdering the mother of his children 1 week after a liberal bail fund helped secure his release from jail. Surveillance video appears to show a woman pushing a toddler onto train tracks in Portland. Bullets for all these people, by the way. And a 25-year-old man allegedly chewed off an elderly man's ear and part of his face on a trading platform in Gresham. Yeah, actions have consequences. If you let the monkeys run the zoo, what do you think is going to happen to the zoo? People aren't going to come to the zoo anymore. Millstones, that's right, Dylan. Population density matters. We talk about strategic relocation all the time here at this channel, and you don't want to be near where too many people are, because cities are consumers of resources, not producers of resources. And when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are more or less unprepared and something bad happens and there's no resources there other than what's trucked in every day, you're going to the lowest common denominator of humanity when there's that many people around becomes desperation and violence. And I don't want y'all to be subjected to that. Rob said his ear, this food shortage is getting bad. Yeah, I guess. A little teriyaki sauce would probably make a piece of ear go a long way. But also, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say this. Children, we don't eat people. People aren't food. Read Leviticus 11. Nowhere in there does it say you can eat people. Back to the article. What's happening is with our decarceration and elimination of bail culture, we've got all these people running around, said Kirsten Olson, a trial attorney and host of the Rational in Portland podcast. And it's really scary because we also have this anti-police culture. Let's see. Portland city limits where crime increased 9% last year, according to police data. The city of Roses. Portland also set a new homicide record for the second year in a row. The article goes on from there. The city is ranked 48th out of 50 big cities for officers per capita because you defunded the police. So, yeah, Portland is statistically now a bona fide shit show. It's not just a matter of conjecture and opinion. It is now de facto, factually, statistically a shit show. So, with that, 32 minutes in, that is our brief for today. If you are one of those fine Americans that jumps off when it's time to talk about how to support the show, this is your loving invitation to beat feet, skedaddle, get out of here. Have a blessed day. Shalom. For everybody else, we're going to talk about what you can do to continue to be enmeshed in the Bear Nation, how you can network with one another, how you can support the show, and some pretty interesting things that have happened in the last 24 hours. Otay? Otay Bear. All right, good talk, everybody. I need a sip of water and probably a hot toddy and a nap. Aight. Oh, yeah. Also, 1,400 people in here, 600 likes. Hit the like button, please. That helps us. It helps us greatly. Who will swoop in and buy up Portland? I don't know. You guys want to go in on Portland? We just make it the new headquarters of the Bear Nation? I'll become the chief of police. I'll commission all of y'all, and we're just going to take the streets back. And I bet you real estate's pretty cheap in Portland right now. The problem is, like, we're going to have to do green rooftops on all the buildings so we have pasture for the sheep. Right? I think that'd be, what do you think? You think we could do that? Sheep top pasture for a rooftop pasture? Parapet wall. Yeah, well, there's a tour for that. You got to put a wall up. Somebody can fall off and hurt themselves. Says the guy who still doesn't have a handrail on his porch 3 years later. So, green tea, Bear, it helps. I'll get right on that. I'm almost positive one of the lovely ladies in this office has tea hidden somewhere. So
I would give you throat coat tea.
Throat coat. Well, yeah, you would. I believe you. All right. Patreon.com. By the way, there are links for all of this in the description down below. Okay. So if you're like, Bear, what's the link? It's in the description down below of every video and live stream. That way you guys can find it with as little friction as possible. Patreon. Patreon serves a bunch of functions here. It's an alternative site that when YouTube nukes our channel, whenever that happens, we'll still be on Patreon. And a lot of people have asked, but your videos on Patreon are hosted at YouTube. How does that work? I have multiple other services where I can post videos and make that content continue to appear on Patreon. So it's a non-factor. Just trust me when I say that. It's a non-factor. Additionally, the bulk of our content lives at Patreon. And the vast majority of it is exclusive. Like, you can't see it unless you're a Patreon member. So we do a lot of the homesteading contents over there. A lot of the question and answer sessions, or all of them, are over there. We've been kind of on a kick on making basic bread lately on Patreon. We've also been doing math for food storage and agricultural production. Like, how much do you need to support a family of 5? You know, how much corn do I need to plant, or wheat, or how many sheep does one need? Chicken math, etc. So all that like value filled content is over on Patreon, and it's $5 a month, man. I realize some people don't have $5, and if you don't have $5, you can absolutely help us by giving this show a thumbs up and sharing it with people you love. If you do have $5, I promise you're going to get way more than $5 in value off of Patreon. So go check that out, please, and thank you. Patreon is the economic engine of the Bear Nation, and it is not an I love me, you should love me too page. A constant feedback that I get on Patreon is that, dude, there's more content there than I can consume. Like, you're swamping me. Okay, well, you don't have to watch every video, but if you want to, they're there. There's a lot of content at Patreon. RefugeMedical.com. For those who are unaware, I'm the founder and CEO of RefugeMedical.com. And we have gone from my barn to 4 continents in just under 4 years. 64 lives have been saved to date. 64 lives have been saved to date using Refuge Medical products and training. And it is March, which means we are going to be focusing on March Madness and not some stupid basketball game. When I say March, I mean the March algorithm: massive bleeding, airway, respiratory, circulation, head injury, hypothermia, and everything else. And therefore, if you've got your debit card or your HSA or your FSA, the kit that we're going to talk about today is back in stock, shipping fast, the BearFac 3.0. And the reason we're going to talk about this is that this kit will address every facet of the March algorithm. It was specifically designed by me, and then it has been iterated on with constant input over the last 3.5 years from Army Special Forces, Naval Special Warfare, and Air Force Pararescue, as well as Marine Recon. Okay, facts. This is being used by those elements right now in the field, and every time they come up with a critique or a criticism, we address it, we iterate, and we make the product better and better. So that's how we have now the BearFac 3.0. This kit works the entirety of the March algorithm, all right? So it's Molly compatible on the back, Molly Pals webbing. It's made out of ballistic nylon. As you can see, I've got a soft T tourniquet on this side and some real EMT shears on this side. The way this works is you grab this tab, pop it open like so. You grab the red handle and you pull the inner out of the outer. The reason for that is I personally despise individual first aid kits where they stay stuck to your body, because I want it out where I can use it, not stuck to my body. If I've just been shot, stabbed, or blown up, I need as little friction as possible. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate you. This can be opened with one hand. The reason that's important is because 3 of the lives that have been saved with this kit, this one kit here is has contributed to more than 50 lives saved from Refuge. Of the 64 that have been saved by Refuge equipment, this one has 50, okay? 3 of those lives, they were missing a hand. They didn't have a hand. So that's why that's important. I can reach down here, grab this red tab, shake and pop it open. And the kit is prioritized per the March algorithm. Massive bleeding, tourniquet pressure bandage. Massive bleeding accounts for 90% of preventable death in the United States of America. 90. It's not diabetes. It's not Charlie Victor 19er. It's not the jab. It's not heart disease. It's uncontrolled bleeding is 90% of preventable death in the United States of America. And you're probably thinking, cool, well, I don't wear a plate carrier for a living. Why do I care? You drive, and statistically, driving is the most dangerous thing you can do as an American, okay? A lot of our lives saved have been motor vehicle accidents, and it's the same basic methodology. You tense up before you hit, your femur breaks, and the femur, the largest bone in your body, squirts out the inside of your thigh, and it partially or completely severs your femoral artery. Your femoral artery is the diameter of your thumb. It's a garden hose that pumps blood. And when that happens, You have 90 to 120 seconds before you lose enough blood loss that you pass out. Tarpon Yellow, appreciate you, bro. Thank you. If you pass out, 100% chance you're not rendering self-aid, right? And with EMS response times being what they are today in this country, the idea that somebody's going to get there within 2 minutes to fix you, not going to happen. Unrealistic expectation. So our massive bleeding is right up front, okay? Then next, airway and respiratory. This represents about 8% of preventable death in the United States of America. So then we go to the stack back here, where I've got shears, nasopharyngeal airway with the Surgilube for maintaining a patent airway. 2 big 5x9 gauze pads, because if I need big gauze, I need it now. If I need small gauze, I've got time. If I need big gauze, I've got it now. 2 chest seals, a left and a right, a front and a back, an entry wound and an exit wound. 2 chest seals, not 1, 2. And a burn tech dressing, okay? Because burn is a common modality of injury, not only in the military, but also for civilians. So that's our stack. So that's massive bleeding, airway, respiratory. Then we've got circulation, head injury, hypothermia, everything else. And that's addressed by this pocket down here. Pull this out down here. I've got my quick clot rolled gauze for wound packing if I need it. And then I've got this, our trauma pack. This has compressed gauze for wound packing, a triangle bandage, a roll of 3-inch Kerlix, a burrito blanket, emergency blanket here. That's for mitigating hypothermia, which is one corner, 1/3 of the lethal triangle, all of which is related to blood loss. So we want to keep blood inside the body. Humans have basic physiology of air goes in and out, blood goes round and round. As long as we can maintain that basic physiology, whether you're a Navy SEAL or a school teacher, air goes in and out, blood goes round and round, we're good, okay? So we want to keep the blood inside the body and maintain the patient's temperature. So we have the burrito blanket. On the backside, we've got an eye shield and an eye pad, then 2x2s, 4x4s, 5x9 gauze pads for smaller wounds, abrasions, etc. And right here, if you look, that is fold flat duct tape because it sticks to everything, including blood, sweat, and tears, all right? This entire kit, this whole thing set up, packaged just like this, ready to go, brand new in the box, is $269 American dollars. It's guaranteed forever. If you use it to save a life, I will replace the contents that you used at no cost to you. If you break this kit in any way, if it fails you, I will replace it at no cost to you. And that guarantee is good forever. Forever. Not for a year, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, forever. If you have an issue with one of our kits, forever, you simply contact us and we will make it right. No questions asked. Don't even need to see proof of purchase, but none of that bullcrap, just forever. And we pride ourselves on stellar customer service. And I would go as far to say we have the best customer service in the industry. So the BearFact 3.0 is what we're featuring today. It is HSA and FSA eligible. 66 lives have been saved to date. I'm going to read you 64 lives have been saved to date. And we're going to talk about 65 and 66 in a moment. And then I'm going to read you a debrief on 64 and also tell you, because I've had people ask, I need a smaller kit that can fit in my pocket. What do you got? This is called the SLICK kit, which is a tongue-in-cheek acronym for Sexy Legs and Khakis kit, okay? Combat gauze, gloves, mini compression bandage right here, and then a pair of chest seals and flat duct tape that you've got inside of here. You couple this with a tourniquet. This will fit in the cargo pocket of your pants. This will fit in the inside jacket pocket. This will fit in a backpack or a glove box, no problem. It fits in the back pocket of the jeans I'm wearing right now. This is the SLICK kit. It's a super good kit, combat gauze, good to go. So you can check that out as well. Now, Life 64 from Bayou Country, who has been here for a hot minute, a member of the Bear Nation. Bless you, Bayou Country. On February 26th, I responded to multiple individuals being shot. Upon arrival, one was DOA, dead on arrival with no signs of life, but the other had a through-and-through chest wound that entered the upper right side and exited through the back on the lower back. I just took Responder 1 on February 6th, so he came to class, refuge training. He'd just taken Responder 1 on February 6th. and I have an SOB, small to back kit, equipped on my duty rig. SOB is a phenomenal kit as well that we offer. I was able to deploy the 2 chest seals, one on the front and one on the back. The victim was able to keep breathing until EMS arrived on scene and transported to the hospital. A chest tube was inserted, and he had 1 collapsed lung. He was in critical condition, but it appears he will pull through. I never would have had the knowledge or equipment to give aid had I not taken responder 1 and had the gear with me. I'm sure the victim is thankful. I know his family sure was. In prior incidents, I would have just sat there and waited for EMS. Praise Yah, and thank you guys for awesome kit and training. Respectfully, Bayou Country. Bravo Zulu, bro. Great job. That makes my day. That's what we do at Refuge Medical. Our mission statement is to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experiencing the abundance of his provision and blessing. It is so cool that we get to do this for a JOB, man. That like the actual fruits of our labor is that people are still alive. That's incredible. Great job, Bayou Country. And again, it illustrates the efficacy of these kits. They work. There's no good idea fairy bullshit in these kits. It's not price point garbage. I'm not trying to maximize my profits. I'm trying to put the best kits possible in the hands of as many people as possible while supporting American manufacturing and infrastructure and feeding 23 families. And I couldn't do that without y'all. So thank you for participating in these shenanigans that we call life. Now, to that point, refuge training. There are a handful of public classes in the store that have not sold out yet. I would strongly recommend if you have a kit and don't know how to use it, or if you don't have a kit but want to have one and still don't know how to use it, thank you, No Pulse. Or if it has been a hot minute since you've been trained, and I promise you, doctrine changes day by day, month by month, year over year, and we are constantly updating our curriculum. There are people out there who are still teaching TCCC from 20 years ago. Do you know how many lessons we've learned in the last 20 years? The answer is a lot. A lot. So, come to class. Okay, come learn. If it's been a hot minute since you've trained, or if you don't know at all, come to class. Please, just try it out. I guarantee you, you're going to leave better than you came. There is not a better civilian tactical medicine class on the face of the earth, and I have that from 6 different Green Berets, from members of the United States Marine Corps, members of the United States Navy, members of the United States Air Force, multiple fire departments, multiple law enforcement agencies, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our bona fides are clear. We've trained more than 3,000 people in the last 2 years on how to do this stuff and have actually saved lives doing it. Bayou Country is an example of that. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Rodney. The classes work. It really works. And just like buying a handgun and not getting training on it makes you a liability, not an asset, so does buying a first aid kit and not knowing how to use it. Possession does not equate to proficiency. You have to know how to use it in order for it to work. If you don't know how to make it work, it's not going to work, okay? Now, if for whatever reason you cannot come to class, please, I need 3 hours of your life for free. 3 hours of your life for free. Go to the trauma medicine playlist on this channel and watch all 8 of those videos where I walk through this kit, the Bearfac, and show you how to use and why to use and indications and contraindications for every piece of kit in this first aid kit on the trauma medicine playlist. At a minimum, please go watch that. And it's not about clicks and views. I don't care. I want you to know how to use your stuff. Okay? Stephen Peru. R3 is crazy good. And Joe Aquilino. Shalom, brothers. Love you, brother. Good morning. I love you back, brother. Joe Aquilino. Great guy. Great guy. Possibly the best bassist I've ever had the blessing of knowing. When he plays bass, it looks like two angry tarantulas attacking each other. I don't even know how he does that. It's just a gifting. And then flamenco guitar, forget it. Plus he looks like your standard canonical rendering of Jesus. So he's got that going for him as well. Yeah, awesome guy. Shalom, brother. So please, Refuge Training, please check it out. There's a handful of public classes left in the store. Please check that out. And if you need a private class for your business, your church, your agency, your organization, your mutual assistance group, your tactical knitting committee, whatever you're involved in, you can email sales@Refuge Training and we'll take care of you, okay? Grindstone Ministries online giving is up at grindstoneministries.com. We have a new website coming because our current one matched our scope when we first put it up 2 years ago, but the Father has blessed the work of our hands and we need a more professional website. So that's being developed. So you should be seeing that coming in the coming weeks. Additionally, you'll find links in the description to Caleb House swag and the Saws Facts Not Feelings shirt, both of which go to benefit the construction of Caleb House, which is our juvenile anti-human trafficking restoration facility. To that point, I did a podcast with Nutrient Survival that posted yesterday at the Nutrient Survival page. I shared a link on Patreon this morning. I'll share a link on YouTube when I get done here. And please go check that out. We talk a lot about Caleb House and anti-human trafficking in that show. And so that is not the direction that myself or either of the hosts from Nutrient Survival thought the conversation was going to go in, but that's the direction the Father wanted it to go in. And it was a really good conversation. So go check that out. And thank you to every one of y'all who supports Grindstone Ministries and Caleb House, because we'd be freaking dead in the water without you. We, to date, still have never received a dime of public funding or foundation funding or grant funding or anything. It is 100% the Bear Nation. It is 100% y'all. And that is humbling and amazing. So thank you, because we couldn't do this without you. I saw Mark Chase said, did you ever find a good source for AEDs? Yes, but it's drips and drabs. So if you need an AED, contact sales@refugemedical.com and the sales team will take care of you. I don't have them in the store because they're hard to get. But if you need one, sales@refugemedical.com. They'll take care of you. Stefan S. Freely it was given, freely we give. Praise Yah. Great attitude, brother. Now, last thing we're going to talk about this morning. Thank you all for hanging with me. Live 65 and 66. Last night at 8 p.m., I received a phone call from our director of sales, Forrest, who said, hey, there's a house on fire. We need a fire extinguisher. I was like, I'm up. And I looked at my wife because we were hanging out on the back porch. I was like, put your boots on. We're going. She throws her boots on. We hop in the truck. Lights, fire extinguisher. We'll go flying to this location, which was fun. My wife was screaming at me on the back roads made of dirt as I'm power sliding around corners in a 12,000-pound GVW 1.5 ton truck. It was great. I loved it. She, not so much. But we had a blast. And we get there, and I'm expecting to find a house on fire because that's what I was told. There's a house on fire. And when I get there is I find a house that was on fire. And Fo?
It was on fire when we made the phone call.
No, I'm not knocking you at all. Fo and Katie Lynn and DR, who heads our shipping department, and his wife were all on site. Calm AF, just chill. It was just super chill. And DR's got a garden hose, and he's put out this house that was on fire between a garden hose and a fire extinguisher. And I was so damn proud of my people. That was awesome. They spotted it from the road as they were headed back from work. And they stopped and they rendered aid. Come to find out that there had been an ambulance there, that the man of the house had just had what was presenting as a heart attack. And as the ambulance left, somehow, we still don't know, the fire department's doing an investigation. Somehow the house caught on fire. And I'll say, as far as house fires go, it wasn't a gigantic fire, but the woman the woman of the house said to us as we were leaving, "Thank God for y'all, because we would have died. We didn't even know the house was on fire. He's not well. We wouldn't have made it out of the house. You saved our lives." That shit's badass, man. Great job, team. Great job, refuge people. And praise the Father that we were in a position to be able to respond to somebody who was in need. And it also illustrates the point. First responders, though they mean well, are handicapped right now by budgetary restrictions and staffing restrictions and the availability of equipment and materiel, and their response times aren't great. We were there super fast. KL and Fo and DR and his wife, they were there faster than I was. By the time I got there, it was just smoldering.
Yeah, we were the ones that told them their house was on fire.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't know their house was on fire.
So DR runs up on the porch and the lady comes out of the house like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Your house is on fire." And she's like, "Oh shit." And he's like, "Yes, oh shit indeed." So just want to brag on my people. I did nothing but get in the truck and drive there and then talk nicely to the people when I got there. Our people handled everything else. And that's the spirit that we try and instill in y'all. Like, be a good neighbor. Be so strong where you're at that you can be a light to everybody else around you. Respond to stuff. Don't just see it. Oh shit, there's a house on fire. Maybe I'll call 911 or something. It could be 40 minutes. It could be 40 minutes before 911 gets there. It statistically is 40 minutes around here before 911 gets there. And those people probably would have died in their house from smoke inhalation, and then they would have burnt up. So when you see a problem, deal with it. Respond. Don't be an innocent bystander. Be a responder. And that's what we try to bring to you every day and equip and empower you and train you to be able to do that. Now, we, as of yet, have not founded Bear Camp Fire Department, although I'm thinking about getting some t-shirts. And we, as of yet, do not have a how to respond to house fires or hair fires, house fire block of instruction in any of our training blocks. But we might, but it illustrates the mindset and the heart set. If you see something wrong, do something about it. Yod, do stuff. Bear, what is your statement of faith? Yod, do stuff. 90% of life is showing up. The other 10% is doing stuff. You get those two things down, show up consistently, do stuff consistently, doors open. It's almost like magic. It's not magic. I mean, magic's bad stuff. Read the Bible. It's the blessing of the Father for your obedience, to willingly be his hands and feet, to run towards the fire, not away from it, to run towards the car wreck, not away from it, to run towards the gunshots, not away from them, to run toward the problem to fix it, not away from it. That's the brief for today. I absolutely love and adore every one of you. And again, thank you for bearing with me on my good days and my bad, because in the last 5 years, what you and I have done together by the grace of the Most High at this little channel is astounding. We have done more good stuff in partnership than I can even put numbers on. I have no idea how many lives we've touched. I know that there's 66 people still alive today because of these little companies that we have. We've donated more than 5,000 copies of the scriptures, you and I. We've deployed 36 times to disaster zones. We fed thousands, tens of thousands of meals, moved tens of thousands of tons of debris, ministered and witnessed to thousands of people. We lost count of how many people were baptized last year, somewhere around 60-ish. We just quit counting. That's not us. That's the Father that's doing that stuff. But he's using you to help us do it. And that's, again, what I mean by we have a relationship, you and I. This is not transactional. This is relational. And that is what sets us apart, makes us peculiar, a set-apart people unto Yah. Sets us apart from every other damn channel that's out there. And it's an honor to be able to do this with y'all. So thank you. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.